I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Fitchburg Board of Public Works for January 25th, 2020. Called in, okay. So then we're moving on to agenda item number 3, approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the December 7th, 2020 Board of Public Works meeting minutes?
I so move we approve December 7th, 2020 meetings.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
I have one item, even though I wasn't there. At the very last thing, there is no move and second for the adjournment. It looks like you forgot to put in somebody's name or time or whatever. There's blanks in there. The very last item, can somebody look at that?
There's blanks on all of them except the start of the meeting.
Yeah.
So they should be, I mean, those things, I guess, should be filled in before.
All right. The only one, the times on the other ones, I'm not concerned. The last one, we probably should have a time on the adjournment. I would say, looking at that agenda from the 7th, Bill, can we revise these to put adjourned at 6 o'clock or 6:30 p.m.?
Can't hear him.
Oh,
Bill, you're muted. Sorry. I'll look that up and get that in the minutes.
All right, thank you.
okay. But
Any-
even like agenda 6B, where you have a resolution, you is it okay if you don't have anybody's name in there? Motion to approve made by, second by, motion, and then there's no people's names and there's no that it was approved or not approved or whatever.
Those need to be in there, yeah. Otherwise,
Yeah,
for the record.
I would defer having those meeting minutes till the next one,
All right,
the next meeting.
But they definitely were all approved.
Yeah, I figured they probably were. I actually watched the meeting, but it was just for the record because that's what goes on the
Correct.
internet or whatever. So maybe we just got an earlier version got put in the packet rather than a final version.
they show draft, yeah. I have a motion to recommend deferring the approval of minutes till the next Board of Public Works meeting.
I guess I'll make that motion.
Motion.
You're looking for somebody to.
Yes,
we have
I'm
to-
looking for someone to make that mention.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. The minutes approval is deferred until the next meeting. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate your attention to detail. Okay. Next on our agenda, review of October, November P-card purchases and November, December checks. There's quite a few on here, so I'll let the board members, I'll wait till the end here. Let the board members ask the questions first here.
I have a question on check number 121445 to Lincoln Contractor for discharge hose and hose reel and freight charge. Whoa, do we have a breakdown on something that we had to get one replaced or what? Do you know on that one?
This was the pump that was purchased for the city for doing the large pump for just pumping down the ponds and flooding areas. The hose reel came in later than the pumps did, so we're just paying for that. It was a separate line item in the contract.
Thank you.
Actually, how much hose was involved with that bill? It's just
Gosh, I think we got
a quarter mile?
at least a half a mile.
Okay, all right. It's a large amount, so, thank you, Dave. Anyone else? All right, I got a couple here on, it's more just a general information question on page 7. Let me page back up here. Page 7. the last one, it was a random drug test. Our truck drivers that have CDLs, they're required to have random drug tests random drug test bill. Is that part of the, deal with the CDL, or is that something with the water workers?
No, it's with our CDL
Okay.
licensees. They have to, they're in a pool that gets selected for random drug testing for the state DOT. And we had one or two that had to go in for that.
So do you get a notice from the state that they have to go in, or how does the
Yeah, our
selection?
HR department gets the notice, then I'm notified of the applicants or the participants that have to go in and do the testing. And then they're required to go in to get their test.
Thank you. It's similar where I used to work. We had a similar one. All right, on page 8, we have a number of, I think these are software to DIT solutions, a number of checks. At the top there, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. Is that a specific software package, or is that a yearly maintenance fee? What are we looking at there, Bill?
It's our annual, I guess it would be maintenance or licensing fee for Autodesk for our design software.
All right.
And it's broken up into a number of different accounts: sewer, water, storm, and general fund.
Excellent, excellent. And then one more, and I'll be quiet on page 15. It's more procedural. Let me get there. I see the check cut for $50,000 to purchase the land for the well location. Would that be cut before these get approved through this board and the council? It seemed like cart ahead of the horse, or am I missing something there?
This one was approved by a resolution back in 2018 or 19 for Stoner Prairie. That was in their agreement, their subdivision improvement agreement, to purchase the land at this price.
Okay.
So we're just exercising that option to go forward now because we're looking to install that well toward the end of this year.
All right, gotcha.
Doesn't it look like they voided that one at the bottom of that same page? That was the assumption I made, where I saw the 50,000 with the same GL account, same check number, and then it's got a negative and a V after it. So I assumed that they voided it, and then we're waiting.
Correct. What you'll see at the next meeting will be another request for a check. We did void that. We tried to get it done before the end of the year, but we couldn't get the title company to come to agreement on how those funds would be dispersed. So we voided the check, and there'll be a new check coming forward with a new amount.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation, Bill. All right. Any other questions on the checks or P-card purchases from the board? Sarah, Michael? All right. That item 4 is closed. Next, we move on to our report from the Director of Public Works, Mr. Bill Balke.
Well, I would have liked to have said we're not too busy during the winter months, but as always, we're busy and going full speed ahead. We're in full design mode right now with our engineering department, getting ready for our projects to go out. A lot of procedural agreements coming forward for subdivisions and that like. Our streets department, they've been out plowing, getting things done. I hope you haven't received too many concerns about our operations, but if you do, please bring them forward and we'll try to address them. We do have one thing I would like to address, on the off season is our mailbox policy and funding, how much funding we want to provide for those mailbox knockdowns. We did revise it a year ago to increase it to, I think it was $64 per mailbox and post. But we've had some concerns that that's not covering the full cost. And do we want to cover the full cost of a copper clad fancy mailbox that some subdivisions were required to have by their homeowners association, which costs several $100s. And so those are some of the concerns that we've been, have been voiced about that policy, and maybe to think about, or I'll bring it forward and see what your thoughts are on that if you want to revise that. Gosh, what else has been going on? Just our department's just been really busy with all the development that we've got. We've got 2 subdivisions that are we're reviewing plans for. The Fahey Fields Phase 5, or the last phase of the original plat of Fahey Fields, is going to come forward with construction this year. The Crescent Crossing Phase 2 is coming forward with their next phase of construction that they want to get completed this year. We're finishing up the Stoner Prairie second edition subdivision improvements for that, and gosh, we're just hopping with development and home building, and it just doesn't seem to stop. So it's a good thing for us. We love to keep busy, but we'd like a break too sometime.
I know the feeling, Bill. All right.
Are you building the pedestrian bridge by the golf course on Fish Hatchery too, Bill? I mean, that's going on this winter too?
Yeah, the contractor had some spare time, so they got in there and they put in the bridge abutments, the concrete things that will span the bridge over it. We're not going to see any more action on Fish Hatchery Road until April, when the road construction starts, and that project's pretty much wrapped up until that time.
Excuse me, Bill, what are you thinking, like, gonna set some type of a height of a limit on mailboxes, or what? You're not gonna give an exceeding amount or anything like that. I mean, people can get pretty fancy if they wanna be,
Right. Yeah, we'll do a survey of other communities in the area to give you an idea of what they're at, and see if we want to revise our policy.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions for Bill? Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it, and appreciate your hard work with everything going on. Next, we're going to move on to our agenda items then. The first one is is ordinance 2021-0-01. An ordinance amending chapter 68, article 3, division 4, speed limits. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the.
Move by Lobdell. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Schroeder. Discussion. We have looks like we have a very detailed report on this.
I wanted to say that I know that this is something the residents are really passionate about, that with the trails and just with the amount of children that are kind of playing in that space, that there's definitely a lot of interest in lowering the speed limit here. And when the speed report came out, which thank you, Bill, for providing, and it captured someone going 70 miles per hour in that space, that it did raise a lot of eyebrows. Just that I know people still can speed, but lowering that to 25 is really well received in the neighborhood, and I'm excited for it. I think it's a positive change.
Thank you for passing those comments on from the neighborhood, Sarah. Appreciate hearing those.
I found it interesting looking at the speed study, that the averages, the 85th percentile, all those kinds of things, are actually below the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit that's posted out there. That's pretty unusual. Usually it's a little bit higher than that. So to me, that says that the majority of the drivers are more comfortable going slower. So realistically, that's what we should make the speed limit be.
I think what helps on that, though, is not a thoroughfare through there. It's pretty much all neighborhood traffic. And they realize that they all have kids. They're being a little extra careful.
So Bill, the department supports this. They are in favor of reducing the speed limit from 35 to 25. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. The report kind of speaks for itself with all the details, but The engineering part of it did, lend itself to promoting a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit for the area based upon the number of driveways, the widths of the road, the different traffic calming devices that we have out there already, the number of trails crossings, and the local traffics. It all lended itself to being promoted to a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. So the resolution or the ordinance that you have in place there, it does not designate a special 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Rather, speed limits are set by exception. So it's assumed 25 miles an hour except when it is posted otherwise or an ordinance supports that otherwise. So what we're doing is removing the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit from our ordinance for the roadway at Bay Glen. And we're removing it the entire length. So that would be from East Sherrill Parkway to Nobel Drive.
Phil, what are the traffic calming devices that are on there right now?
Currently, we have some narrowed kind of bump outs at Quarry Hill. We have the pedestrian refuge islands at Valley Duff and Lismore. And we have one at Bob's Drive, I think it is, or Smoky, one of the two. And then the roundabout that's up there is a traffic calming or slowing device as well. But
Okay,
it kind of starts at one end and ends at the other, but we've got those devices out there.
thank you. Yeah, it's similar to the street I live on. It's a wide street, more than just neighborhood traffic, but the 25 speed limit and the traffic calming has made a big difference. It's a safe street, although people still may speed, but the 25 combined with that has made a big improvement, and I think the neighbors will enjoy this and increase safety for their children. Any other questions on that? Again, thank you, those of you that have brought forth comments from your constituents about this. All right, if there's nothing else, go ahead, Michael.
Quick question here. When would this take effect?
After the ordinance is published in the paper, it takes effect within 10 days of that.
Okay. And is there then the possibility to get some sort of signage out there for the people that are currently used to the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, whether it's I don't know if we can kind of do a road sign or something like that just kind of notifies people for, maybe a month or so that the speed limit has changed.
Typically what we'll do for a speed limit change is we'll post flags on the new signs. So there'll be an orange flag at the signs. On the heavily traveled road, like we did on Cyene, we'll put up a message board sign that says speed limit change to 25, please slow down.
Yeah.
But I don't think, based on the traffic, there's not a lot of cut through traffic. It's all neighborhood, as you'd mentioned, that the flags should be sufficient.
Okay. And we're not actually putting up new signs. We're just taking down current signs.
Correct.
Okay.
Putting up 25-mile-an-hour.
Oh, we are putting up 25. Okay, I missed that. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Then we'll call the vote. All in favor of ordinance 2021-0-01 signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda, we have resolution R-89-20. Could I have a motion to table this until the second meeting in February? Didn't have time to complete the report on this, so could I have a motion to table this resolution?
I'll make a motion to table resolution R-89-20 to the second meeting in February.
February 15th, moved by Wilborn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Granetsky. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. That it is deferred. Next, resolution R-202-20, a resolution accepting bike path improvements on Outlot 1 of Certified Survey Map 15-162 and Outlot 2 of CSM 15256 and 9 Springs. I won't say it twice. All right. I have a motion to approve this resolution.
make a motion to approve resolution R 20220, accepting bike path improvements.
Thank you, Sarah. Moved by Schroeder. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Lobdell. All right, any discussion? This has been on a couple times, hasn't it, Bill? Can you give me a little background again, refresh my fading memory here?
Yes, this resolution is asking for acceptance of some public improvements that were completed by a developer. They have installed the improvements per specifications and provided all the lien waivers and paperwork necessary for the warranties, et cetera. So we're asking for acceptance, formal acceptance for these improvements on our outlet.
I have a question for you, Bill. Is it adjoining any other bike paths, or is it just gonna be that one stretch?
It's this one stretch right now. There's a southern piece that will connect across on the other side of East Sherrill Parkway that will go all the way down and connect up to the path south of where Phoenix is right now on Lacey Road.
Are we getting any government funds for this?
No, the developer's paying
Do it.
for the entire amount
Even south?
and south.
Oh, that's nice.
All right, I like it.
Yep.
Any other questions for Bill on this? Bill, what's the approximate length of this section? Is that quarter mile or shorter?
That's about a half a mile.
Okay. Any other questions? See none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of resolution R-202-20 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, resolution R-0921, solid waste budget amendment to allow spending of CDRR deposit funds. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Lobdell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Schroeder. All right. Bill, give us the rundown on this. I'm gonna need a little explanation on something here, but why don't you give me the rundown here?
All right. A few years ago, the city of Fitchburg enacted an ordinance that would require building permits to take out a permit for using the construction, construction, demolition, reuse, recycling, reuse materials or something like that,
All right.
CDRR. Anyway, it's construction materials that for demolition. And they would take this permit out and ensure that they would use approved methods to dispose of those, taking them and having the materials recycled where they could, reused where they could. And then they could come back and get their deposit back of $100. Over the years, many of the contractors that took these permits out never claimed their deposit back. It wasn't worth the time to come back in and fill out the paperwork and get the $100 deposit back. So over the years, we had ended up with about $26,000 worth of deposits that were unclaimed. And our staff was looking at how we could possibly use this in our recycling refuse program to provide services to the community. And the ordinance was discontinued in 2019. And then with the direction to find a way to use these funds. The Resource Conservation Commission looked at different ways of doing this. They came up with a couple of ideas, one of them being for information and education, which would allow for the city to use the funding to publish the recycling guide and give those to every resident in the city of Fitchburg. And they came up with a cost of about $14,000 for that. And then $12,000 would be used for contractual services. I forget what that amount was supposed to be used for. Oh, the clean sweep, right. for sponsoring a clean sweep event within the city of Fitchburg. So we were going to use the funding, that $26,000 for those two items. The budget amendment that we're requesting requires a council approval to do this budget change and allow us to spend the funds for those programs.
All right, questions?
So the program was discontinued in 2019, so you're not doing this anymore. So is this all of the funds, all of the deposits that remain in the account? So you're taking care of all of it at the same time?
Correct, yes.
And do we know what the effort was to contact the contractors that may have had deposits during that period of time to make sure that they had one last chance to claim deposits?
I do not have that information. I know that it was administratively difficult to keep track of those. There are thousands of deposits that were made. I don't know what the effort was at the time.
They had 3 years, was that right, Bill?
Correct.
Okay.
So is this mostly builders and not private landowners?
Correct.
Well, for $100, they probably figure why come back and get it, and you guys go out and check to see if they did it right. That could be some of it. I've
Right.
seen pretty shoddy work out there.
Maybe some of them didn't reuse and recycle, so they weren't even eligible to get it back. It's hard to say.
Yep.
And was there consideration given to just using the funding for some of our current costs as opposed to introducing new things? You know, for example, our waste collection rates, I know that those are set, but I know that we also have a reserve for something like that. That seems like maybe a good idea, you know, I don't necessarily know if adding more things to just kind of one time spend the money on.
They had to be used specifically for recycling and reuse programs. So I'd have to check with the finance director on that one as to the reasoning why they came up with the programs that they needed to spend this money on.
And just point of clarification on this resolution, are we actually approving the funding to go into a budget to be spent as deemed necessary, or is this budgeting specifically for those two accounts?
It would be budgeting for those two accounts and those programs.
Okay.
My opinion, I think the information, that we have on recycling from the city is very adequate. You can go on website or things come out. I think the clean sweep is a little more, is something I think would be more beneficial to our citizens than more educational information. But I'm with Michael. That'd be nice. We have to pay for a couple new dumpsters, in a couple minutes here. I think this would have been better used doing that. Since it seemed like it would be the same, it could be, since we're recycling cardboard, it would make a better use of it. But I'm not here to overrule the Conservation Committee either.
I do have a note that the RCC committee did review this. Sorry, I'm looking at back in July of 2019. And that Claudia had worked back then to determine that the funds were really restrictive and that we either had to refund the deposits or, like Bill had said, it had to be diverted to education, is just kind of what my notes say back from July. where I do think, I like the idea of having it be diverted to somewhere else, but I'm kind of under the impression that since these construction, demolition funds, that was their intention, is that I think there are some limits on how they can be spent. But I know, Bill, you could do some more research with the Director of Finance, but that, without a doubt, I remember the RCC committee talking through this and just kind of thinking through as to where the funds could be spent, and that clean sweep event is a very popular event, for the RCC, commission, just that it is really well attended and they receive positive feedback about it.
And is that, just a quick clarification, is that semi-annual currently, or is that once a year and we're looking to add an event?
The clean, we don't have a clean sweep program per se. This would be for all liquids and, you know, your paint thinners and things like that. We do the recycling event for electronics and the shred event, but this would be another program with, for your paint thinners and paints and things like that.
And this is, in lieu of, are we still gonna partner with the Dane County, which I know has a similar program for all of its residents already?
Right. We're going to try to have them sponsor the program here in Fitchburg so that we may not have to use that funding.
Okay.
For that.
And my final comment on this is, if we start something with a one-time funding and it's wildly successful, sometimes it gets to be out of control. And, you know, if it's something that everybody wants, fantastic. Well, you know, the city can try to find new ways to pay for these things. But if it's like a one-time shot, and it's expected that it's a yearly thing, that's where I kind of start to get a little bit concerned. I just make note of that.
In reference to Sarah's comments in the first part of our report, it said that when the ordinance was in place at the time the deposits were collected, in that ordinance, it said that any unreimbursed funds can be only used for the 3 items listed below. And that was, you know, the 3 items. One of them is the cost to administer the program. Well, the program's not in existence anymore, so there's no cost there. But one of them was the payment of construction and demolition, recycling, the deposit refunds, the cost of the administration of the program, or the third one was only the cost of programs whose purpose is diverting construction and demolition debris from landfills. So that's really the only option, and that was in the ordinance that was passed when the deposits were collected. So we're pretty much limited to that is the only place that it can be spent.
So then the question is, with the recycling guide, does that fit into those lines, or is it recycling specific to construction and demolition?
No, the guide itself it's for all recycling materials, but an emphasis would be put in that area to emphasize the construction, demolition, disposal techniques that are recommended.
I'm curious, what would that look like? You know, what the public information education, you know, that we're, put that money on, what vehicle would that take? Or how would we go about doing it?
This would be a published document that would go out to all of the residents in Fitchburg. It's a brochure. It's about 20 to 30 pages, I think it is.
Any other discussion? Sense some consternation.
I guess so you can get that all mailed out for the 14,000, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like there could be a better use of the funds. I guess my only hesitation is why we're restricted to those 3 things, and the first 2 are non-existent anymore. So it's only the third one, and I guess you could have a broader interpretation on it, because, I mean, I guess I'm sort of like the others on this board here. It's mailing out a recycling thing to all the people in Fitchburg. I'd say probably 90% of them are gonna immediately be put into the recycle bin and added to the things that are going to the landfill, because I think most people, when they're looking for specific information, go to the website, because it's more up to date, it's, you know, it's more current, and it has the latest information. So it does sort of seem like a waste of money, because I just don't think that mailing something out to everybody is gonna be used hardly at all. But with the restrictions of this, and I'm sure RCC took that into account. So, and the other point that somebody brought up is, you know, if they studied this and they think that this is the best way, you know, are we just, you know, if there's no other options, are we better to just agree with them? I don't know. I could go either way on this one.
The clean sweep, you know, I would say, I like that. I've used it, you know, especially I think this spring, you know, the amount of people that have been doing painting and home improvement projects, I think there's be overwhelming need. I would rather see it all used for that, than another flyer going out to the, you know, to all our residents, to be honest with you.
And the side note on that is I'm all in favor, generally speaking, of consolidation of services, not us kind of doing our own thing that's already redundant to something that the county already offers.
Good point, Michael. Yeah, that's an excellent point.
Only thing is, the county charges you. You don't get to drop it off free.
In that case, maybe there's an opportunity then to reimburse users of the clean sweep program that Dane County offers.
I think
Yeah.
just to echo what is also being said, that the guide is available on the website, where I do think, like it's been mentioned, that a lot of people do gravitate towards the web to find that information, and the specific information, like the guide, is actually available online. So it does seem a little repetitive if those individuals are already looking online for that information. And for the county service, I agree, it's nice to not repeat services, but that it also, I think from the RCC's perspective, it's not the most convenient, and you do have to pay. That if we're looking to encourage people to recycle, and like this initial resolution sought to divert funds from divert materials from going into the
Landfill.
dumpster, I think that this would be making it convenient to residents and encouraging them by not charging. That does seem like a valid use of the funds then to offer that clean sweep program.
And that's, you know, I don't want to debate, you know, Dane County's policies or their ability or encouragement of people to actually recycle some of this stuff. That's on them, and if they want to charge for it, fantastic. You know, the other kicker that I would ask is if there were, you know, as they're developing policies, take into consideration that we've already had issues with our recycling center being used by non-Fitchburg residents. So having some sort of enforcement mechanism in place, you tell people that they can use something for free, and quite literally the entire, you know, Dane County area is dropping off paint thinner in Fitchburg for free.
Yeah, it's a good point, Michael. You'd almost have to have them produce a document of residence, you know, which Madison does, you know, for brush drop off and things like that.
Yeah, I think Dane County uses their, I think they don't just allow anybody to drop off. I think you have to show an ID.
You're correct. Yeah.
In you know, the public information and education, I would also agree with that. If we're going to just be kicking out a mailer of the same old information, you know, maybe that's not the best use of funds. If there were using this money to have staff time to put together maybe a little bit of a different communication program, whether it's updating the website, updating promotional material, that sort of stuff. I think there's maybe a little bit more benefit in that than opposed to a one-time piece of mail that most people, I agree with Kim, are probably just going to pitch.
All right, we've been on this a while. I'd like to suggest that we send this back to RCC with our suggestions and ask them to bring it back, that we don't feel that the public information education is a good use of that. We feel clean sweep is, and let them bring this back to us. Anyone, what do you guys think of that?
I'd appreciate that.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
Well, first we have to vote.
Let's
on
vote,
the
let's
motion
vote.
That's out.
Okay, let's vote on this, and then I think we know which direction we want to go. So, all in favor of, I'm losing track of here, resolution R09-21, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay?
Nay.
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 Nay. Motion is rejected with the, again, recommendation that be taken back to RCC with our comments about what would be our preference. Okay. All right, thank you everyone for the input on that. Next, Resolution R24-21, resolution approving an agreement for subdivision improvements, Outlot 15 of 9 Springs. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Lobdell, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Schroeder. All right. Bill, you want to give us a rundown on this? Pretty straight, looks like our standard agreement.
It is our standard agreement. It is just for a small section of sidewalk to be installed along Lacey Road in front of the new apartments that are being proposed for that development. And we just noted that in this agreement here, the park fees were calculated incorrectly. And we do have an amended agreement that shows what the new one is. I just got it like 10 minutes before the meeting. So I would ask, that this agreement be approved with the changes to the agreement for the the calculated park fee, amended park fees.
What section is this in the,
It should be 6, I think it is.
section 6? All right, give me a sec here.
Or is it 5? No, 3.
3, okay, hang on. I'm a slow scroller. All right. So I'm reading the Parkland Dedication. What would be changed in this as we're reading it here? It talks about 126 dwellings, and there's a plat fee, and then
There's 127 dwellings.
What page you on?
I'm on page
42.
44. He's got it printed out. It's
42.
42 in the PDF, but it's 11 of 8, or
11 of 18.
11 of 18 in the
All right.
agenda package. Okay, so it would be 127 dwelling units. Does the square feet need to be changed too?
The square feet did not change.
Okay,
The calculated fee is $48,171.
so we had
Instead of
shown,
176, Bill? 176, 903, it's 48,000?
Yes,
Okay, it seemed a bit high to me. when
so
it was
that number should be 48,000.
48,741
Okay,
in 04.
4 cents.
4 cents, okay,
4 cents, yep.
all right.
And there's one more multifamily dwelling unit, 127, right?
So yes, so this would read, prior to city signing the plat, subdivider shall pay a park improvement fee of, no, I'm sorry, I gotta go up. Through the plat, the subdivider will be declaring 0 square feet of area for parkland. The plat proposes construction of 127 multifamily dwellings. There is a remaining deficit of, would that be 127 dwellings also?
Correct.
127 dwellings of 32,626 square feet. To compensate for this deficit, the subdivider shall pay prior to the city signing the plat a fee of $48,741.04.
Correct.
Okay, so that is how it would read.
Yep. And then down in 3.02,
Yes,
the park improvement fee shall be $20,320
320, okay.
for proposed 127 multifamily units.
So in section 3.2, we'll read, prior to city signing the plat, subdivider shall pay a park improvement fee of $20,320 for the proposed 127 multifamily units. Okay. Any other changes in this bill?
We did add a clause in there regarding the curb and gutter. The developer thought we should be removing the curb and gutter section of the developer agreement. That's up in 1.01, where it says standard improvements, curb and gutter and bituminous pavement. There is no curb and gutter that's proposed to be installed in the section, so we were going to remove that section. But we're also going to add in a clause that we have, I don't have it with me right now, but it's for waiving special assessments for future curb and gutter. As part of the Sain Road project, we will be installing curb and gutter along this section of road. And we don't want to put ourselves in a position where we have to have a public hearing for the curb and gutter. We're asking for that to be waived by that property owner.
All right, so if we don't put it in, they don't have to put it in now, but they'll have to pay for it later? Is that what?
Correct. Correct.
Whereabouts you put it, or adding that to in here?
I'll have to look at one of our other agreements. I think it would be right in the street section. It would be a section G where we would put that. Oh, wait, it's already in there. Never mind.
Bill, how critical is this, that this go to council this week?
I think they were, I think we could probably get it in if we
Okay.
had it at the second meeting because they're going through plan commission for some approvals in February.
So in section, then the third change on here would be in section 01, A, and it would say, section 201 of this agreement, standard street improvements including crushed stone base, bituminous binder course, and bituminous surface course for the plat, with curb and gutter crossed out.
Yes.
Everyone following me?
What page you on that, Dave?
Yeah, that is page, Dave, hang on. That's page 3 of 18 of that.
Okay. Under the water mains and laterals, is that where you're at?
The very first, section 1.01, street improvements, it's in A. The second sentence in A. Street improvements and curb and gutter, bituminous pavement. So also in 1, the curb and gutter should be struck out of there also. Am I correct, Bill?
Correct.
Okay, so both in the 1 statement and in the wording, we'll take curb and gutter out of here. Anything else?
No, those are the changes that were requested.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the board, are board members be comfortable approving this, with the understanding, having gone over these changes?
Is it all right though?
I am.
Is it all right if we get a reprint of it the right way though?
Yeah, I would ask next week, Bill, or send it out to us here as soon as you have the revised copy.
All right.
Michael, you all right?
Good.
Okay. Then, I'm gonna call the vote, approval of amended resolution R-124-21, signified by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And Bill, you'll follow up with the board sending the edits or the revised resolution. Okay. Next, on to resolution R-1721, approving change orders to solid waste contract pelletary. We have a motion to approve.
I so move.
Moved by Wilborn. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Lobdell. All right. Sounds like everyone being sequestered at home, we've got more cardboard than we know what to do with, thanks to Amazon. Bill, can you run us through here quick? I think this is fairly straightforward, though.
Yes, our agreement with Pelletary did not have the services included for pickup as part of our standard operating. And we had asked a quote from them to provide the service for pickup 5 days a week, 2 additional dumpsters at our drop-off site here in Fitchburg. The cost came in at a little over $9,000 per year, and it would escalate with the cost of living increase or CPI increase every year for the next 4 years to provide that service to Fitchburg. We recently, over the holidays, did spend some staff time out there trying to determine how much of our customers coming in were outside of Fitchburg or not Fitchburg residents. And we had on a 2-hour time frame over the weekend on a Friday or Saturday and Sunday, we had over 40 residents come in during that time period, of which about 20% of them were determined to either not have a valid proof of residency. They didn't have a license, so they were driving around without any proof of driving, so we had that issue. And then we also had some that we had 4 or 5 of them that turned right around in the driveway when they saw somebody standing out there. And then we did recognize that about 20%, of that 20%, I would say about half of those, they provided their proof of residency and they weren't residents of Fitchburg. So we had roughly 20 to 35% of the people either turning around or not having the right, not being residents of Fitchburg. So that was eye-opening. And our staff and RCC are looking for ways to try to curb that out of town use. And we're looking at, possibly, manning the site, limiting hours, limiting access, which, isn't great, but it's better than spending money for, or if we do, provide that service to outside customers, maybe we can work out a mutual agreement with the different surrounding communities that we bill them back for this additional service, something to be able to recoup the cost that we're seeing from the outside residents that are dropping off at our site. There's other things too that we could look at. There's gated passes you could use, or license plate readers, and you try to use technology, but that usually involves some staff time and tracking people down and giving them citations, and it really doesn't solve the problem that we're getting a lot of waste from out of town. So we are looking into it right now. We are just seeing a big increase, mainly from Fitchburg residents for our drop-off and cardboard.
Okay.
This resolution in front of us is just for the 2 additional cardboard dumpsters, right, in the pickup 5 days a week?
Correct.
This has been I think Mr. Wilborn and I would both say this has been a topic of discussion since we've been on the board too, and if I had my druthers, what I would say is we implement a gate that, some sort of gate that, a Fitchburg resident can get a pass, a card, or something like that would be, what I would suggest to the people looking at this. Otherwise, I don't want staff spending time, trying to catch these bad actors. Let's just keep them out of the site, and then it'll cost us, some money up front to get that. But, if you talk to any staff that's had to go in there and clean up a mess that some people illegal, not city residents left there, it's not pleasant. But I don't mean to get off track here. So let's, any questions on what we're approving here?
I would actually start to put this in everyone's head is if this is something, and again, same thing with the yard waste and brush collection site that we just can't monitor and is going to get overly expensive because of non-residents or even non-residents adding to our collection sites and or abusing, even residents abusing the site. Have we actually looked at discontinuing this program? Like, we can't maintain it, we can't monitor it, it gets too costly to do so. Do we just discontinue the service? It's not a question for today, but I would start to seriously think about that in lieu of adding to it to account for out-of-towners and or abusers of this program.
Yeah. I would just add, and then I'll close the discussion, Michael. I think our residents would be willing to pay, the fee to get a card so that they could get in and out and prevent the cost from getting driven up. But that's for another day. I'm going to call the vote on this right now.
Can I ask one quick question?
Go ahead. I'm
Sure.
sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Bill, I'm just assuming it wasn't feasible to consider quoting out anybody besides Pelletieri. Is that accurate?
We're just continuing a
Yes.
program we have finished for 5 years, wasn't it?
Correct.
Right.
Thank you.
Sarah, we'll have when the contract's up, then we'll have we'll go out for bid again on the recycling yard waste contract. When their contract is up, we'll bid it out. They'll have a general that we'll probably bid out unless it's extended, so, but we're just kind of piggybacking on what we have right now for, how much longer is the contract, Bill, with Pelletieri, or is it this looks like 4 years?
4 years.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Anything else? Anyone else? Thank you for your discussion. All in favor of resolution R-08, R-17-21, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Note opposed by Granetsky. Okay. All right, next, resolution R-08, 21, final resolution exercising police powers and levying special assessment for 2020 curb and gutter sidewalk and driveway replacement in the city of Fitchburg, Wisconsin. We have a motion to approve resolution R-08-21.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Granetsky. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
All right, I heard second by Sarah first, got in just ahead of, got in, she hit the bell just before Kim did, so, okay.
Yeah.
So, this is a fairly small section of curb and gutter, that we installed along Commerce Drive. Is that, am I correct, Bill? That's the only section here that this resolution is for?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, we are deferring we are not, we're not asking for this to be paid for 2 years due to COVID. There's no homeowners here. Now I realize one of the businesses is, the theater is no longer in business but I'm a little, I'm kind of have mixed feelings on you know, deferring this cost. You know, my taxes weren't deferred for 2 years with no interest. So I'm just curious, the board's thoughts on this. No one? All right,
I'm good with the deferment.
you're indifferent, yeah, okay, thank you.
I'm okay with it. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm indifferent. I would say that instead of trying to pick when it does and doesn't apply, businesses are hurting just as much as citizens, homeowners.
Thank you for that input, Michael, appreciate it. All right, with nothing else, I'm gonna call the vote. All in favor of resolution R-08-21, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next, resolution R-31-21, resolution authorizing the purchase of land from Stoner Prairie HDP associated with future well 12. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Lobdell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Granetsky. Okay. I couldn't find exactly what lot this is, Bill. Is it up on the hill, or I didn't see exactly where it was in here.
It would be on the extension of I forget what road it is, actually. It's right adjacent to the school.
Oh, it's there, on that side. Okay, I was thinking it was on the other. Okay, I know where it is. I know exactly where it is. Okay. All right. So the ordinance says that we would pay the pre-development rate. And so we're paying $50,000 for a half an acre. With the pre-development rate, is that area $100,000 an acre? I'm not a realtor. I don't have a sense of I don't have a sense of these things, Joe. I'm pretty sure it was not that much when it was farmland. Or we wouldn't have been able to farm it or afford to farm it.
But once they turn it over to personal, it can go up pretty fast, Dave.
Okay, all right. Understood, Dave. Okay. So this, Bill, how long have we, in our master water plan, how long has this been in our sites?
The plan was recently redone in 2017, 2017, I think it was. And prior to that, this area, was subject to development, so it was part of the neighborhood management plan that was in that area, the Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan,
Okay,
that this area would need to have additional water service in the general area.
okay. So this is just a well we'd be pumping, we'd just be pumping right into the network out of the well, or is there anything on site, below ground reservoir, or anything also planned? It's not really a big enough lot to do much with.
No, it would just be a building with a pump in it, along with a couple of bathrooms for the park.
Okay,
So it's gonna look like most of the buildings in the area. It's gonna be a stone masonry building with a colored roof on it, similar to the well that we have over on Lacey Road.
okay. Where will the access to this be? Are we gonna need an easement to get to the lot? it's on a street that we're not gonna require an easement here to get to the pump or get to the property? I don't believe,
No, it would just be a driveway and onto the building
okay.
site.
Have we thought out, we evaluated if we're going to require water main easements in that subdivision, with this coming in, or has that been planned or evaluated yet?
Yep, it's all been planned out. The water mains have been sized accordingly, and we've been installing them as the subdivisions come in.
Thank you. That's why you're our city engineer. Thank you. Sorry for asking the question. Does anyone else have any comments?
Where is the water that they're drawing from now coming from then? What well is supplying it?
I believe it's over on, not 100% sure. I think it's over on McKee,
Spoken,
Spoke and McKee.
the reservoir there, the
Okay,
below ground reservoir, I think.
right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So this would serve this new subdivision as well as on the other side and future development in that area. Okay. Has the Dane County, the model, the regional model been looked at? You know, we're not gonna be pulling out of one of our other wells with this. It's been a while since I looked at any of those overall plans.
Yeah, it's the nearest well, I think, is at Spoke and McKee, and it's well outside the zone of influence for another well.
All right, thank you, Bill. Any other questions on this? Okay, then I'm gonna call the vote. All in favor of resolution R-33-21, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're getting there, stay with me. Next, resolution R-03-21, resolution authorizing Dane County Services for stormwater permit review and inspection in 2021.
I so move we approve resolution R-03-21.
Moved by Wilborn, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Granetsky, okay. Bill, give us your Reader's Digest. What are we, for the people watching here, the board members know this, but why is this administered through the county?
Essentially, it's the county is an extension of our staffing to assist us with all the erosion control and stormwater reviews that have been coming in for development. And they provide our services for inspecting the erosion control, reviewing the stormwater permits, and ensuring that they meet our ordinances.
Thank you for that concise answer. Any questions for Bill on this? Is this a yearly, we have to update, this is a yearly contract, Bill?
Yeah, it's renewable annually, but our finance department requires any budgetary expenditures more than $25,000 to go before the council and finance committee for approvals.
Okay.
So is this on an as-needed basis, so you were really allocating up to $35,000, and it depends on how many actual permits or erosion control construction things they have to review or they have to monitor?
Correct. And we also bill back to the developers any portion of the expenses for those reviews.
Okay. Has this cost, has the use of this gone up in recent years with the all the subdivisions we're doing around here? Okay.
Yes, back in 2017, when I started, we had allocated about $25,000, and last year's expenses were up over $45,000.
Of which, how much of that does get reimbursed or billed back to the builders?
It's approximately half to 2/3.
Okay.
Good question. Thank you, Kim. All right. Any other questions on this? Okay. I'm going to call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-03-21 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, I think the chief is still on the line. We'll start out with Resolution R-21-21, acceptance of fire headquarter Phase 2 electrical bid for a generator. We have a motion to approve R-21-21.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Granetsky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Lobdell. Chief, you want to give us a rundown what your need is here?
Yeah, I'd love to. And I understand that we're talking about R-21-21, but actually the explanation will pertain to the next three
All right, sounds
topics
good.
on your agenda.
Sounds good.
Obviously, the totals will differ, but it'll give you some explanation as to why this is coming before you the way that it is. Typically, what the city will do is they'll hire a general contractor to address all of the subcontractors and deal with it in one fell swoop. And although that is probably the most economical from a time standpoint, it's not always the most economical from a budget standpoint. So what we had done is we looked at the remodel of our Fire Station 1. I think the best way to give you some history about this project is to identify why we even kept Fire Station 1. Initially in our process and before I became fire chief, which was 5 years ago today, my anniversary.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But before I started, they had identified two lots that we were going to have two fire stations. In identifying the need for administration on our east side, our newest station, we realized that the topography of the lot was not going to allow us to build everything on one story. So they were going to have to add a second story to that building, which would have increased our construction cost anywhere from $800,000 to $1 million. We were looking at the way that the building Fire Station 1 on Lacey Road was appraised, and that appraisal came back very low. And one of the reasons for that is obviously the way the building is constructed. Who else is going to buy this building and use it for a specific purpose other than what we used it for? In addition to that, when our operational side of the fire station vacated, we were able to partner with UW Health, Safe Kids, and Children's Hospital. They are actually renting the other side of our building, and they work with us in injury risk prevention, child injury prevention specifically. They try to keep kids out of the emergency room. So they work hand in hand with some of the things that we do anyway in the way of reaching out to our community. So, I mean, I could go on for hours. I love the partnerships that we were able to develop as a result of some outside of the box thinking, but really, I think you guys want to probably get to bed sometime tonight, and I could go on forever. So we established the remodel project in two different phases, and I did that on purpose. One of which is we used a construction manager during the first phase in order to identify any of the hiccups or stumbling blocks that you typically see with construction. And we weren't exactly sure how our budget was going to fall, and we didn't want to overcommit city funds by trying to do the whole project all at once. So by breaking it up into two different phases, we were able to make sure that we didn't overspend our budget. We were able to allow for a quicker operational transition into our emergency operations center. The EOC used to be in the basement of City Hall. We moved that over here because of the fact that I am the city's emergency management director. And whenever we have a need to stand that up as a result of weather conflict, those types of things. I'm right here, we set it up, and it's a little bit easier to do operationally, and it's away from the police department and city hall where you typically don't necessarily want to have your emergency operations when city's business is going on. And then once again, I talked a little bit about the tenant. We wanted to minimize the impact on somebody who is renting our space. So what we did is we identified what was going to be needed on a priority level. And now the next set of priorities needs to address our backup power generation, the rest of our building lighting to make us more energy efficient. We have a lot of fluorescence in the building that we're converting over to LEDs. That'll give us some rebates from Focus on Energy. And then the other thing was the garage doors. Garage doors are very old, and now that we have a group that caters to children, the last thing that we want is to have a situation where our garage doors come down and don't stop with the safety mechanism. So the garage door openers, they've been with the building pretty much since its existence. This is a 50-year-old building, just a little bit under a 50-year-old building. So we needed to address some of those things. So a Class 2 notice was placed in the Wisconsin State Journal for 2 weeks as per our ordinance. We did put our bids on the bid management system. The city's using Quest CND. You're probably well aware of it. I don't deal with it often, but we're working with folks in our engineering department to make sure that we were addressing that the way that the city typically sends out bids. And then we identified a couple of different membership groups that have construction companies that look for bids on their site. Another thing that we did in the first phase, and the issue that we had with getting bids in the first phase is the fact that although this is a big project for us, it's not big in scope for other construction companies and other general contractors. So we had a tough time receiving bids. So what we did with the first phase is we had our construction manager give us an estimate what they thought our construction costs were going to be. And that way, if we only did get 1 or 2 bids, we could see if we were in the ballpark and if we needed to rebid. The good news is a lot of the bids that we received either came in at or under what we anticipated, which is why I am comfortable coming before you with the request. We did receive 3 bids for 3 different services, for lighting and generator, for door service, and for painting. And we are going to be reposting for landscaping, plumbing, and flooring because those bids either came in incomplete or they didn't come in at all. Let me explain why we're doing what we're doing from a fire department standpoint, why we even chose to get into this concept of doing our own general contracting, if that's even the right word to use. We know that a general contractor would add expense to the project. We were able to use flexibility in our workforce. There were certain things that our firefighters were able to do, once again, within scope. We weren't doing plumbing. We weren't doing electrical. We're doing things like demolition and rough carpentry, stuff that we have the capability of doing because we have talent on staff, and we have firefighters that are willing to contribute to the effort. I didn't take advantage of it. It's something that I tried to use within reason, and I also wanted to make sure that we recognized what their primary purpose is, and that was for emergency service. So really tried to work with the firefighters on doing what was ultimately good for the city. And I think if you look at the overall necessity of responsible budgeting, our firefighters know that if you're spending money on one thing, it can't go someplace else in the city's budget. And there are more important things to spend it on, so we tried to reduce the overall cost. We anticipated saving anywhere, well, we know we saved at least $60,000 in the first phase by using firefighters in certain areas, and we anticipate saving over $30,000 in phase two, just by doing the overall oversight on the construction. And the next phase really isn't all that significant from an oversight level. We still need the electrical to be inspected and all of that. So anything that we are doing is primarily just making sure that they have access to the building, and we answer their questions as to what the overall use of certain systems is going to be so that they can install them correctly. The bid for Vanner, that's the one that's on the table right now. They put in a bid for electrical and for the generator, the backup generator. With those two things, our construction manager identified that we would spend about $85,000. The bid came in at $85,171. We put a 10% contingency on that because the last thing we want to do is ask for, I mean, you guys know what contingencies are all about, but we didn't want to necessarily ask for money and then come back and ask for more because they found something that needed to be addressed that we didn't see and they didn't see. So that's why we're requesting the $93,000. We're hoping not to spend the $8,500 contingency, but it's there just in case.
Chief, does the building, there's not a generator right now?
There is, but the generator only covers a portion of the building. What we're trying to do is cover all of the building based on how we're using the property. The other thing is the generator is starting to show its age. So instead of rebuilding the generator, we figured what we would do is we would address that from the overall need and the overall use. And the best thing for us to do right now is to address replacement versus repair.
What fuel are you using for the generator? Is it natural
We are
gas?
using natural gas here, but
Okay.
All of our other stations are using diesel. We try to be off the grid as much as possible. The thought behind that is that if you have electricity that is interrupted, especially if it's underground electricity, there is the possibility that gas too would then be interrupted. But what we did at Station 1 to address that is we will have a separate hookup that will allow us to hook up independent of that generator if needed, where we could rent a diesel-powered generator and plug in.
Okay.
We have never seen the natural gas be interrupted, but just my luck, that's what we plan into it, and we don't have a contingency to address it in the event that natural gas distribution is interrupted.
Yeah, I won't worry too, I have some experience in that area, and usually when there's a electrical outage, there's a phenomenon called packing, where actually more gas, the gas gets pressurized higher, and there's more volume, but yeah, I'm glad to see you're using natural gas for that. You don't have to worry about fuel. Maybe you want to talk, the city does have a generator that they can move around to the wells, so maybe that could be your backup. All right, I don't want to ask, this is out of my,
I'm glad you're thinking in that direction, because that's exactly what we do from an emergency management standpoint, is not only address the overall operation, but then look into the contingency. We are aware of the city's backup generator. We also have some backup generation within our fire apparatus that can be used if needed. It won't power the whole station, but then we would have to identify what we would be using on a priority level out of the Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else have any questions on all three of these resolutions? Maybe ask the chief, and then we'll vote on all of them one at a time rather than coming back here.
I will say one other thing that we did, and once again, a partnership that we came up with here at Station 1. We are the backup emergency operations center for Dane County, and what that did for us is it not only solidified the relationship that we have with emergency management at the next operational level, but they also spent $250,000 worth of infrastructure. They put technology into our building that we use every day and they use if their primary EOC is not functional. We've already used our EOC at least 4 times between COVID and civil unrest. And it's proven to be a really good partnership, and one that we hope to make even better through training and response.
Thank you. Appreciate the explanation. Any other questions? All right, then let's go through these. We have a motion and a second. I'm gonna call the vote. All in favor of resolution R-21-21, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Move to next, resolution R-22-21, acceptance of fire station phase 2 garage door bid. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I so move we approve resolution R-22-21.
Moved by Wilborn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Granetsky. I'm going to call, anyone have any questions before I call the vote? Everyone's still awake? All right, okay. All right.
You
So,
want me to explain the whole thing all over again?
my term as chairman might be pretty short if I did that, so. We're going to move to vote. All in favor of resolution R-22-21, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Last one. Resolution R-23-21, acceptance of fire headquarters Phase 2 painting bid. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Moved by Lobdell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Schroeder. All right. I'm just going to call the vote. All in favor of resolution R-23-21, signify by saying aye.
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 Oh.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
No problem. I get to do it all over again for finance tomorrow.
All right.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you. All right. So that brings us to announcements. The next Board of Public Works meeting will be February 1st, 2021. I did have one question for Bill before we go. I had several residents wanting to know what the culverts are piled up on the bike trail are between, in back of Certco there.
Those would be the interceptor sewer that Madison Metropolitan Sewage District is installing along the trail. They have a 36 to 42 inch line in that area, and those pipes will be are being upsized right now.
Okay. You have any idea when their project would be completed?
I didn't have a chance to check the schedule before the meeting, but it's going to be past summer into fall, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. At least I can answer the question now.
So Bill, do you anticipate February 1st is next Monday? It's just 1 week from today. Are there going to be agenda items? Do you anticipate that is going to be a valid meeting? Or are you still up in the air?
No, we've got probably another half a dozen items being referred out at tomorrow's meeting.
Okay.
All right. Then we're on to, anyone else have any other such matters?
Did just want to commend Bill and staff for all these little snowplow, or little snow events. We haven't had a really big one yet, but so far so good. We're keeping the 3 inches at bay.
Thank you, Michael. I noticed the same thing, it came Sunday. They were out very early on Sunday and got it plowed off before traffic picked up, that would have packed it down and made it icy. So hats off to them for Mark and the crew for another good job. All right. So on to agenda item, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you for your attention.